Welcome to the Men of Action podcast. Today, I got Tyromper in the house today, the number one energy guy, number one father on the Twitterverse. So, Ty, welcome to the podcast.
Zach, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here, brother. You are a guy that inspires me. You raise the level of if it's a tweet, you raise the level. If it's just an in-person call, you raise the level. Whenever we chat and communicate, brother, you take my energy up too, man. So I appreciate you and I'm honored to be here, bro.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I finally get you on the podcast. I mean, you've been all over Twitter just promoting fatherhood, faith, and everything good and wholesome, about especially with your health and fitness and your own personal journey, which we can get in today. So, Ty, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Man, so yeah, I'm a proud Christ follower first, I would say. That's the anchor of my life and really has been for the last several years. Made a big leap. I was kind of like a lukewarm Christian for a while. And then 3.5, 4 years ago, I said, you know what, I'm all in. I'm going to give Christ every area of my life. And I joke now, I wish I had done that way sooner. You really get to see some miracles and blessings when you do that. And kind of give God the reins of your life. So I'm that first. I'm an awesome, trying to be a great husband to an awesome wife, Annie. We're coming up on 9 years of marriage, wonderful legacy and mission with her. She's the greatest wife in the world, man. I honor her and love her daily. And then we got 3 awesome kiddos, man. We have 1 biological daughter who's about to turn 8. We fostered 7 children over the last 3 years, reuniting 5 back home. And we adopted our 2 sons, who are both 2 years old and really wild. And so it's really fun to be a dad with them, man. And that's pretty much me in a nutshell, man. Do the dad life thing.
Yeah, especially those little young ones who are always running around and make sure you definitely get those 20K steps in a day.
That's right. Yes. It's impossible to not get 20K steps in a day with those 2, man. You just chase them around, right?
That's right. And I know you are helping your daughter go on her first mission trip too. So you're also supporting her in her own journey as well.
And big shout out to you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Supporting her journey too. We did a little fundraiser and you gave, and I just appreciate that so much. That's why I love our community, man. It seems like anytime somebody needs help or just, hey man, we're trying to do this cool thing, people jump on board all the time, and it's, my daughter again is about to turn 8 and taking her first mission trip. She made a bunch of earrings, put them on sale for Twitter and just said, hey, whatever you want to donate, that's awesome. And brother, we raised, like $800 for her trip, man. And
nice.
we want to make it so she has ownership in her trip too, right? She has to work for it. So she's doing a lemonade stand. She's going to, some other things too, to really make her, have that ownership piece in it.
Well, especially when you're teaching her young too. And, especially I know she's a little bit into some of that fashion too. So I know she kind of likes it a little bit too. Because I'll see those pictures you posted spending what? Like a half hour.
She does not get that from me, bro. She does not get that from me or my wife. This is about as fancy as I get. It's a t-shirt from my church. Like most of the days I don't even wear a t-shirt. I'm a shorts and a tank top guy. But my daughter, God bless her, man, she got that fashion eye. She likes to match her jewelry. In fact, there's times where me and her will go on a little daddy-daughter date, and I'll come out and she'll say, Daddy, that doesn't match. Let me help you pick out an outfit. Literally, I trust her, man. She's 7, almost 8, but I trust her to pick out my outfits, so she got a good eye for that stuff.
Now, you were just recently at a conference, or I know you did a post or things. I know you're actually wearing a dress shirt, so it's always.
Yeah, she picked that out, man. So yeah, I got to do my first live speaking event, and that was really, really fun, man. And had to overcome some imposter syndrome and some fear. Couple of guys I was on stage with. One of them was like a Navy SEAL commander who sold the company for $50 million. And then it's like, hey guys, I'm a dad. I run a little solopreneur business. My name's Tyler. You feel kind of, so you had to battle some of that stuff. And ultimately, man, I went out as I felt the nerves starting to rise. I remember going out into the car, turning on some praise music and saying, I don't really have anything to offer these people, to be quite honest, but I think the Holy Spirit does through me. And so that's the way I approach pretty much everything in life, man, is like, to be honest, I don't really have much to give. I don't really have many cool things to share. But when I wake up every day and I say, hey, Jesus, where do you want to go today? I want to walk with you. And I start there and he just takes my life. And, even my Twitter, brother, it blows my mind to have 130,000 teammates on there. It's just crazy to me, man. I wrote a goal 3.5, almost 4 years ago when I started that, to have 1,000 followers. I thought, how cool would that be? Maybe sell a couple ebooks, impact a couple people.
Right.
And I remember just praying over a notebook before I started on my Twitter journey, and I was taking notes and stuff and just saying, hey, God, it's yours. It's all yours, man. It isn't mine. And I feel like God is just 100x anything I could even fathom. And I really mean this. If I wake up tomorrow and in devotions, he says, hey man, that part of your season of your life is over. Brother, I'll make one last video and say, I love you guys to death, but God's going to take me elsewhere. Right. And that's where I want my life to go, is just wherever he sends it. I want to be fully there and present and doing the best I can for him.
Yeah. So what kind of got you to that point? Because I know in the beginning you talked about being like a lukewarm Christian. Now you're like on fire for God. So what was that switch for you?
Man, it's a good question. So I went through a couple really hard things, Zach. So I I'll just start back a little, 15 years ago. So I'm in college, and I guess it's almost 20 years ago now. I'm getting old, but I my sophomore year of college, I discover I have a really unique gift for poker. And
Mhm.
so I deposit $60 into this online poker site, and within 6 months, I've won like 40, 50,000. I've hired a coach for like $1,000 an hour and gotten some coaching. And then before I know it, man, I'm up six figures. I'm rolling. I'm beating a lot of these games. So I dropped out of college. I like just at that point, pretty much I grew up in the church, but dude, I started making all this money, several $100,000 a year at 20, 21,
Wow.
22. And dude, I denied myself nothing. I bought myself the brand new sports car, the watches. I flew me and my friends all over the world. And this was my lifestyle, like a lot of nightclubs, partying, you get into that sort of lifestyle.
Mhm.
And I remember even saying to people, and like, I mean, it's cringe to say it, but like, I don't need God, like, dude, I got everything I need. Got married really young then at 23 to a gal that I ironically met in Vegas. That was from my hometown. And, things were fine. We built this like 6,500 square foot mansion. We both drove luxury cars, and on paper, everybody would have said these two got it, like everything, right? But
Right.
we didn't have any peace. Neither of us were like values aligned, and we just weren't a great fit. And she's a really good person, but we just didn't align. And so I got a call one day, man, that she was stepping out on me, and like my whole world crushed, man. And so I went from seemingly having everything to nothing. I lost a lot of money in the divorce, and then the next 2 years of my life, man, I just reeled. I was a professional drinker for, I drank 6 or 7 days a week. I said I was a professional poker player, but I was so broken, I barely played. Just nightclubs, and I'd be surrounded by 100 friends back then, but I felt like I had no friends, man. Like I always felt alone. A lot of nights I cry myself to sleep. I'd even just think like, man, what's the point of life? Like everybody tells me I should be happy. I got some money and some fancy stuff and some friends, and I'm just not happy. And I remember, man, I had the preacher of this church, Eddie Lowen. Shout out to Eddie Lowen. I just remembered an interaction that I had with him in high school where he said something to the effect of like, I can't even remember what it might be, but something to the effect of that he had peace and that was something that everybody should strive for. And one
Mhm.
night, brother, I was intoxicated at like midnight. I sent him an email. I just looked up his email from a church registry and just said, hey, Eddie, you probably don't remember me, but I don't have any peace, man. And you talked about this. Would you mind just hopping on a call with me and chatting it through? The guy runs a mega church, by the way, 6,000, seven
Oh,
thousand
wow.
members. Within 5 minutes, he responds back, hey, man, next time you're in town, let's grab a cup of coffee. And so that was kind of the first step back, man. Before that, I kind of sold myself this lie in my head. Oh, the church just wants your money. It just wants these things. I lived in a city 4 hours away. I lived in Chicago. He lived in Springfield, which is 4 hours away. He
Mhm.
had nothing to gain by pouring into me. But day after day, man, he sent me encouraging emails. He would hop on a quick call with me. He would grab coffee or a lunch when I was back in town and
Wow.
just talk me through a lot of these things and really ask me a lot of good questions. He was my first coach, you could say. I call him my first mentor. He just helped
Definitely.
me self-discover and challenge me a lot. And so he gave me this thing to say one prayer every day. He said, God, if you're real, just show yourself to me. And he said, I want
Mm.
you to say that every day for 30 days and mean it. And brother, the third, ooh, ah, we're good.
Okay.
Oh, my screen went black. The third
Oh,
weekend, man, I was in Vegas by myself playing a bigger poker game. And I remember the game broke. And so I went for a jog one night, and I had an iPad back then, and I had 10,000 songs on this iPad, and
right.
none of them were Christian. I listened to Tupac, to Biggie, all this stuff back then, man. So I go for a run, and the first song is like some Tupac song. The next song is Holy is the Lord God Almighty.
Oh,
To this
wow.
day, I have no idea how that got on there. I never listened to Christian music. And honestly, when it came on, I got mad. I skipped to the next song, and I started shouting at God and saying, you let my life get here. I'm angry at you, this and that. brother, out of 10,000 songs, the next song that came on, Holy is the Lord God Almighty. And so I literally said, okay, that's the sign I prayed for. I dropped to my knees,
Right.
and in some back alley in Vegas, man, I said, all right, God, I don't want to captain my ship anymore. You take the reins. I don't know what that means to be a Christian. I want to keep learning and growing, but I don't really know. And so he's sort of restored me and put me back piece by piece as we go. Still, obviously, a big time work in progress. We all are. But I feel
Absolutely.
like every day I start there, man.
Yeah, I that's incredible. This that story of how, and where people were so broken that they turn to God, and people always get to a point, and then that's when they wonder, is there a God out there?
Mm.
Because there's no way all this pain is for nothing. I mean, there has to be a reason for it. Because if there is no reason, then it kind of drives people a little bit nuts, for lack of better words.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, even as a Christian, life is hard, right? There's challenges, opportunities everywhere. But I think if we're just here, and this is what Eddie challenged me a little bit on. He said, "Hey man, you're a smart guy. You obviously are good at statistics and odds to be good at poker." He said,
True.
"Just study both sides and see what you think." And do you believe that we're just here by random chance and none of this matters and we just die and it's over?
Hmm.
Study that and see. Like, look at the smartest people that think that, and then read the other side and see what they say. And I just came to a very logical conclusion after that night in the alley that there's too many coincidences in my life and that I've seen. And really, from just studying it, you would almost, a statistician would call it impossible. The Big Bang would just be impossible. And the smartest guy I've ever talked to is the chief engineer of NASA, who built the first rover that landed on Mars. I got to play poker with this guy for like 6, 7
Oh,
hours in a higher stakes game. And he told me he was an atheist until he started discovering the universe, seeing how vast it was, seeing how perfect everything has to work together. And he's like, there's just no way that this is random. There has to be a God. There's no way. And so
mhm.
that's how I feel too, man. Is this isn't by, it's like not a coincidence you and I met each other. It's not a
No.
coincidence we're doing it. I believe that God ordains a lot of these things, and we're all here for a purpose. And we need to discover that and then go light ourselves on fire, man, and like spread that, you know?
Yeah, no, it's especially like because I can't remember how I stumbled across you. I just one of those things that I think makes us following Zap Homo at a time that you just naturally popped up. Because I don't know how I found Zach even, just like one of those things. Because going on that personal development journey of you want to improve your life, and your life isn't where exactly where you want to be. So and then obviously to filter everything, or else you are going to go in a very
Mhm.
dark hole, especially with social media.
So true, man. I think like you're in that web now where I consider there's like, several hundred of us all in that cool web that like
Yeah.
if you see one of us, you're gonna see all of us, man. Because we're all like encouraging each other. And I think that's what's so neat about our community is that like there's place for everybody, man. There really
Yeah.
is. Like, and we want everybody to just come along. And there's no other place on earth I've seen like that. I've worked in corporate America. It's definitely not like that. Where poker obviously is very cutthroat. It's not like that. And that's what I think I love about our community the most, Zach, is that, man, just you come in and you boom, you like radiate my timeline. There's days where I'm like, I don't want to get up and work out. And then I can literally open up my Twitter feed and see 7 guys being like, come on, you can do it. Have a great day. I'm at the
Yeah.
gym too, and it just makes you feel like a part of this community that wants to be involved and wants to do better too.
And they generally like you, like one of the most things I love about you is that you truly want everybody to win.
Oh man, even people that hate me, bro. Yeah,
I
like
know.
I got mailed 2 hate letters from somebody in my high school. I think I know who it is, but just calling me like a fake Christian and this and that, and a lot of you don't wear a shirt enough. That was one of the things. Like, some of these people are ridiculous, man. Some of the things they worry about, but I hope that person finds peace, wins, gets all the success. Like, why would I not? I think we're all better. Like the day I had my first kid too, man, you start to see the world a little different. And someday I'm not going to be here anymore. That's just a
Mhm.
fact. I'm only going to be on this earth for so long. My kids and grandkids will be here. Why would I not want everybody to elevate, everybody to do better? Because that's what makes our society better. It's not really I ain't looking for some politician to come in and save the day. What I'm looking for is me to be my best self, you to be your best self, communities to rise up, power together, churches and things like that. I think that's how we really change the world. And we do that by me every day, being my best self, by you every day, being your best self. And then we inspire others to do the same.
And one of the most important things that you actually live it out. You
Oh,
don't just speak it, you actually work the best way you can to actually live it out. I mean, a lot of times people will talk about things, but how much action do we take? And that's the whole purpose of this podcast is how to become, a man of action, how to show up when you don't feel like showing up. Because obviously emotions can come and go when we feel like working out. It's great. And then days we don't feel like working out and we know we didn't hit the best PRs and things like that. It's like still pretty good that you showed up, and it's hard to
yeah.
show up every day and to do the best that you can, and it takes a lot of grit. So, what's one of the things besides opening up your Twitter feed to help you stay motivated and to generally mean like to go work out, especially now that your daughter wants to work out, and I've seen her on the
Yeah.
road scene.
Yeah, I think that's a big one, man. I'll go back to my faith, and I really feel like God gave me my body. I want to be a steward. I feel like this with the money we get. It's not mine. This house
Mhm.
is not mine. I want to be a good steward of everything God's loaned me while I'm here. That includes my body and my health. That includes my mind and what I choose to put into it. So, number one, man. And again, I don't think everybody needs to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or have 8-pack abs, but you need to take care of your body and be healthy and high energy for those around you and the best version of yourself. I think number one. Number two, my kids, man, they're looking. They're always going to look at what dad does, not what he
Right.
says. And the reason, man, that I appreciate you so much, Zach, and the other guys in our community is, dude, we're all real. How many times do I see a post of like, I'm not going to be that guy, like, oh, I'm on fire 365 days in the gym. Dude, I tell people I'm in shape because I go to the gym 100 days of the year when I don't feel like it. And I
Right.
have bad workouts. Like that's the truth. Like, I really do feel like it maybe 150 days. And 100 of the days, you just got to show up. And the win is just being consistent and continuing to show up. And I love the fact that I could reference 10 of your posts in my mind right now. Man, it's after work. I don't feel like being here, but I'm getting it done today. And like
Right.
that stuff is what it resonates with me. It resonates with other people. I think that's how we inspire people because it's ideal. It's not always easy, man. It's easier to stay in a warm bed than it is to get up and go to the gym. Let's be honest. It's easier to eat the junk food than it is to
Right.
meal prep and eat healthy. But easy has a cost. I always say that. And I just think when we start to see things through a bigger lens than just what's that quick dopamine hit? What's going to
Right.
feel better in the moment? Think long term. Think longer out. Who do you want to be in a year? Who do you want to be in 10 years? Do you want to get to your deathbed and say, man, I just watched a lot of TV and died 22 years too young because I didn't take care of myself? Probably not. So what do you need to do to take steps to change some of that today? And you don't have to solve the whole puzzle. Just go for a
Right.
walk. just make one healthier choice of food. Just join a men's community like Zach's. Like just do a little step right today to take that first step back.
And then another thing too is I was recently listening to Jim Rohn's motivational speeches and his lectures. And the one thing that always grapples my attention is when he talks about be patient with yourself.
Mm,
Because
yeah.
so many of us today want to be where we are a year from now, 5 years, and you see someone, whether it's someone's growth or someone's, signing people or have this time to do all that. And it can get it very hard where you just want to be there, but you're not there just yet.
Mm,
So learning to be patient with yourself and understanding that every time you take a step towards it, you're getting a step towards yourself in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, even a
yep.
month now. It could be a couple of days from now.
That's right. Yeah.
And good.
I love that, man. I think that's such an important point, Zach. And I don't know that I've shared this very much, man, but there was a time where I was managing a bank and I did this for 6.5 years. And people look at my life now at 39 and say, oh, it must be nice. You get to spend a couple hours a day with your kids at the park every day and this and that. Well, for 6.5 years, man, I was up at 5 a.m. no matter what. Even if we had a kid up at 1 a.m., I was up at 5 a.m. to work on my business for an hour, go to
Mm,
work, usually work on lunch while I was walking, come home and do the family thing, and then work the 8 to 10 shift, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift. I did this for 6 years, right? To be able to escape corporate. And
right.
there were so many days, Zach, where I was literally driving into work. And, I only saw my daughter for 30 minutes that morning. And I knew I had a meeting that night and I was only going to see her for 30 minutes at night.
Mm,
Brother, I'd cry on the way to work, man. I'd beg God, I'm ready. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, please, I'm ready. I see other people doing it. I want to do it. I feel called to do it. You put this in me. I'm ready to quit my job. I'm ready. And I kept getting this answer, man. No, not yet. I need you there. And I look back and there were so many reasons that God kept me there for the time he did. Number one, I needed to learn some of the extra lessons about how to be content in a workplace that maybe you don't love, because now I coach guys on that a lot. Hey, they're transitioning out and they want to take that big leap, but hey, man, we're not there yet. And I need to be able to pour some wisdom into there. So I needed to go through it so I could help them. The other thing, and this is just another miracle of God, but my very last branch, man, that I was ever at, I got a promotion to run like our biggest, most important branch here in my network. And the person under me's wife was very high up in DCFS. And she is the one that got us our first son, Kingston, that said, hey, we've got this boy. If you guys are an adoptive resource, we could put him in there. So I didn't know why I was staying at work. I didn't know why God kept me there. But brother, 2 weeks after we got Kingston, my assistant manager pulled me aside and said, hey, Ty, like, and we all love you here and you're really fun, but it's obvious like you're here, but you're not here some days. Like, we can tell you love this other stuff more. Do you ever? And I felt like that was my sign. I put in my 2 weeks right after that. And so I felt like God kept me there for the time he needed to keep me there. We wouldn't have our son today, man, if I didn't be obedient to God and listen through that stage,
This is why I love doing podcasts and like connecting with people, because you post a lot about how you used to do like foster care and really connected with parents and things like that. But of all your tweets, I can't think of one time you share that story.
Yeah, I don't think I do much, man, to be honest. And I probably should talk about it a little more, but it's some of those seasons were the hardest of my life, to be honest. Like, again, this is a hard, the masculine men won't like me for saying this, but I mean, I cried a couple days a week to work, man. I really did. Like, my daughter would be at the door saying, Daddy, like, when do I get to see you this weekend, or do you work Saturday again? And like, bro, it just is a man to like walk out and think like, okay, I mean, I'll read her stories tonight at bed, but that's all I get. I don't get to be there to pick her up at school. I don't get to be there to high five her and take her to the park like I do now when she gets off school. Maybe she's got gymnastics tonight. I don't get to be there for it. I'm stuck at this job I don't like, and it was a really hard place for me to be in. And I saw the vision. I knew where God was going to lead me out. Right. But I was ready, man. Like you mentioned, I was like, God, today. Right. And I think that's why it's so important to wake up every day and say, hey, God, not my time, but yours. I just want to take a walk with you today, and where you lead, I'll go. Because looking back, I don't believe I would have been blessed with the network I have now, the community, that every blessing God has given us. I believe many of those were because I remained faithful during that time and didn't say, hey, God, I know better than you, even though you created the whole universe. I'm going to go my way, right? Like, I'm ready, so I'm going to quit. I think when we start with God, everything else tends to fall into place.
Yeah. So how are you taking some of the lessons you learned about that patience and what God has done for you to help coach other men?
Man, it's amazing. Patience is, I probably say this 5 times a day, Zach. So my son Tyson is just a wild man. Like, he would have been, Zach Hommel jokes when I talk about Tyson. Zach Hommel's my coach, and he jokes. He said Tyson would have been 200 years ago. We would have anointed him as like the next hunter that would have gone out and killed the bison. And he's just so wild. He never sits, man. And so probably 5 times a day, I say out loud, God, thank you for my son Tyson. He gives me an opportunity to grow my patience. And I've developed a lot of these techniques. I truly believe everything in life works for us. Everything. If I'm stuck in traffic now, and I literally think, thank you, God, this must be an opportunity that you want me to put on a podcast, a sermon, something I need to hear. Maybe I need to take some time and just calm my mind today. That's an opportunity. Maybe I need to call my dad or mom. I haven't talked to them in a couple of days. Thanks for this opportunity. I mean, this is extreme, brother, but this is where my mindset is now. I got food poisoning a day and a half ago. I puked, this graphic, 20 times in 8 hours, and it came out the other end after. So I was like, I lost 6.5 pounds in 24 hours. If I took a sip of water, I was running to the bathroom 1 minute later. I couldn't keep anything down, man. And so, obviously when you're puking, it's hard to be really grateful.
Yes.
But even through that 36 hours, I would say that I didn't feel well. Man, I'm so grateful for that. And I feel like God taught me so much through that last little that last little sickness that, hey man, slow down a little bit. You're going 100 miles an hour at a lot of these projects, and I'm not, that's good. But
Right.
sometimes you got to slow down a little bit. And I listened to 3 or 4 sermons while I was sick, and I feel like the stuff he poured into me, I needed at that time. And so I don't think I get sick without God, without he can use that for me, right? And I believe anything in our life, I look at it like that. And that's what I teach and help and coach a lot of men around. Yeah, you don't really like the way your wife said that to you, huh? Okay, well, let's learn from it. Let's talk
Right.
through it. Let's grow through it. What it is an opportunity to grow better, right?
Exactly. And that's like one of the things I always love about you when I see those like mindsets from I gotta do this to I get to do this.
That's right.
I don't want to do this, but I have an opportunity. I love that that slight little mind shift change because it does change everything. And
Mm.
because of that, I've been impacted by that huge because I'd be like, oh man, I gotta do this. I'm like, no, I get to do this. Like I'll catch myself and be like,
I still catch myself like 4 or 5 years later after practicing this. I'm like, oh, I got to do the dishes. No, wait a second. We have dishes. We get to eat great food. We get to have a dishwasher. We got a beautiful home. I get to do my dishes. A lot of people would
you
kill to
do a
do
song,
those
you
dishes,
dance,
you
like
know?
you put away the dishes, have a little fun with it since you like to move
That's
all
right,
that.
man. You put some music on, dance around. You can make everything fun, right?
That's right. But no, I think that's like one of the hardest things to do is like, and the more like you improve, the more you catch yourself.
Mm,
And the more that you catch yourself, the more you recognize, is it worth getting this upset about? Is it worth,
that's right.
being this hard on yourself and things like this? And sometimes using it to talk someone out and talking really helps out, gets you, allows you to vent a little bit, but then getting that frustration out allows you then to refocus on the task and what's the issue at hand. Same thing with
Yeah.
crying. I know whether it's the alpha red pill community or whatever communities out there these days now, where it's like, oh, men don't cry. It's like, okay, let's take a step back and let's evaluate what is the purpose of crying. The purpose of crying is a release of an emotion, especially if you feel that intense to cry.
Mhm.
That way, once you have all those tears out, you have that frustration out or that sadness out, then you can kind of focus on, okay, what is my next step?
Yep.
And that's what's the key point about is what is your next step going to be? Are you going to continue to invest over this and allow it to ruin your life? Or you can use this as an opportunity, as you and I like to say, and
Mhm.
learn from it.
That's
Because
right,
life
man.
is all about learning and growing.
And also, man, if you're a Jesus follower, I mean, there's one verse in the Bible, the shortest verse ever, that kind of ends this argument. Jesus wept. The
Exactly.
manliest man ever, he wept. So
And
I think it's an okay thing, man. And I love how you talk about kind of shifting your mindset. I'll give you another quick little story, man, of
yeah.
just where God's brought me from to two. It was the second year of my marriage, man, and I came home from a work day that I was really stressed out about. And I would always
Mhm.
say this back then: my boss made me feel, this client made me feel, my employee called in sick and that made me feel. And so, this is before I had the mindset, nobody can make me feel anything. They can do things to me and then I can
Right,
choose if I'm going to feel that way or not. But
right.
nobody can make me feel. But back then I didn't have that yet. And
Mm,
brother, I remember coming up to some stoplight, some guy cuts me off. I tell him he's number one without really, telling him he's number one. We
right.
start shouting at each other. I follow this guy for a couple miles, shouting at him. We get to another red light. I get out of the car. I rip my shirt off. I charge. I yell, "Get out of the effing car! I'm gonna fight." Dude, this guy could have had a gun. He could. I don't. Like
Yeah,
this is the anger problem that I had 6, 7 years ago. And that was, somewhat routine. Everything would upset me. If you ask my wife how I was the first couple of years in our marriage, I could go from 0 to 100 in a second, And,
mm,
and the one thing I'm real proud of, and I feel like God has restored in me, is this sense of peace and calm that I could never get. My wife mentioned, a few days, like a few weeks ago, that she hasn't seen me really upset in years.
right.
And I think that is a choice too. And you alluded to it like 10 minutes ago that, like we train our muscles at the gym, this isn't like, one day 6 years ago, I decided I'm going to get better at this. And I was just better. Made incremental progress all along the way. And then I get the fruit of that now 6 years later, to not let things bother me, not let, to let things roll off the shoulder, to see them as an opportunity. But if you keep working on these things every day, man, you'll look back 6 months, a year, 3 years down the road, you won't recognize yourself. And so a couple of the big steps I've taken, man, is just, I think today I'm close to 2,000 days in a row now without missing a day, is like a gratitude journal. I
Mm.
just wake up every day and write a few things I'm grateful for and say a quick prayer over those things and ask God to set my mind on blessings, not on what I might lack. I've
Mm.
done this now for, 4.5 years without missing a day. And my brain has been reprogrammed to see the good, to just see the good in everything, man. And so I think anybody can do that. It's free. And you just need to find little things like that that work for you to improve your mind every single day. Because our mind's our most powerful weapon.
Yeah, one of the things I'm working on practicing is called gratitude walks. I got the idea from Tony Robbins.
Love that, man.
So it's like you just go outside and you just go for a walk, and you're very intentional and specific about what you're thankful for, and just doing that can really just get your mind off the gutter. Just focus
Right.
on, okay, I have the opportunity to walk. I have an opportunity to look at the sky. To walk through a neighborhood, and it's a safe neighborhood. I don't have to look over my shoulder too much,
Mm,
and just really focus in on that. And it does make a difference. Do I do it all the time? No.
I
But
love that.
am I intentional about when I go and do those walks? Absolutely. And that's why we look at the intentions of things. And as someone who's really wise alluded yesterday, is to have the eyes of a child. And God talks about that. Have the eyes of a child, like always eager to learn and grow and get
Mhm.
excited about learning and growing, of how you can take all this information and propel it. And then when you have mastered it or gotten close to it, then you can help somebody else.
Mm, I
So that
love
way,
that.
it's like no longer do I have to wait 5 years and be the same person. 5 years, I'm gonna be a new person. I'm gonna be a better person. In a year, I'll be a better person. That way, because as all the the famous people and people who are experts in the mind shift will say, 5 years is gonna come here, like it or not. The question becomes, where are you gonna be in 5 years?
That's absolutely right, man. It's one of my favorite scriptures is in Romans it says God will change the way you think. And I love that, man, because if we're really seeking him and we're really trying to get better in that, like look at what you said, this gratitude walks. That is amazing. And you might before those walks, let's be honest, maybe there's stuff stressing you out. I need
Right.
this video and work and I got chores, bills, deadline. There's a lot of things in the world that can stress us out. But then you go on that walk and you're like, dude, look at the beautiful mountains. Look around me. Like, bro, I get weird with it in my gratitude journal. I'm like, I got all my toes and fingers. And like, just imagine life if I didn't have this finger, it'd be harder, right? Like, I have all my
Yeah.
stuff intact. Like, that's amazing. What a gift. I got like, what is it? 3 trillion cells in my body all working for me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a gift every day. And when you start to see everything as a miracle, life gets really good, man. And you mentioned the kids, and that's something, man, like my kids teach me more than I teach them. I say this all the time, man, because, a big part of my day is every morning I take my kids to the park. Right after this podcast, I'll take my kids to the park for 2 hours. We're going to a splash pad, meeting another cool dad with his couple
Nice.
kids. And we do this a lot. And the thing I love about watching kids is they don't really need a reason, man. Like they'll just climb this thing to see if they can climb it, or they're just, hey, let's have a contest, see if we can jump over this. Oh, we didn't make it. Let's try again. Let's try again. Let's try. And it's like we can learn so much from kids. People ask me like, well, why'd you do the 100,000 steps in a day? See if I could.
Right.
Like just see if I could, like a kid. Like, oh, why are you doing 5 Murphs in a day? See if I can, just like a kid. Like I
Exactly.
think we need to adopt that mindset. And too often, I was guilty of this. When I hit 30, we just, well, I got the house, I got the girl, I got the job, I'm comfortable. And we stop pushing ourselves to grow physically, mentally, spiritually, in community, with relationships better. And I think, that's a big mistake a lot of Western men make. Life gets comfortable. We can push a
Mm.
button and order food. We can climate control everything we want all the time. Everything can be real easy for us all the time.
Right.
And if we don't seek out some of that discomfort, if you don't go to the gym and push your body, you don't sit in that sauna a little longer than you think you can when you're kind of gasping for breath, right? Run sprints so you don't think you can do any more, and then boom, you hit another one. Like, man, if you don't put yourself through the ringer on some of these things and push yourself to grow, you're already dead. In a sense, if you're not growing, you're dying. So I think a lot of Western men need to take that to heart and say, well, if I'm not pushing myself and setting these big goals and challenging myself, what am I doing? Am I growing or am I just stagnant? You need to ask yourself those questions, I think.
Gotta have that honesty time.
Mhm.
good time once a week just to focus on where you're at and where you want to go. Two questions I highly focus on is what are you doing well in, and then what areas can you improve in.
Mhm.
That way, it's
Love
all
that.
that positive mindset of that growth to push you forward, and not be hard on yourself.
That's right, man. You're the CEO of Zach Goodman. I'm the CEO of Tyler Todt. I always say it, and nobody, no business owner. You think that the Amazon, Jeff Bezos wakes up and says, "Well, what do you think we'll do today?" I don't know. No. He plans. They got a weekly plan, a daily plan, a monthly plan. They got themes, and what they want to accomplish over long term goals. You should have the same in your life, and I do that same, man. Every Sunday, yesterday, take 15 minutes and plan out the week, plan some goals. Once a month, I do a monthly audit of my life where I sit down and I judge myself on faith. Hey man, am I reading my Bible every day? How many sermons am I listening to? Am I giving
Mm,
God my best energy, or am I just kind of going through the motions a little bit?
right.
Hey man, how's fatherhood going? Am I real intentional with my kids? What can I improve on? I said I was going to pray over them a lot last month. I only did it twice this month. Let's set some goals to do that a little better. Fitness, where am I at? Okay, where do I want to get to? And just kind of being real honest with myself and saying, okay, we're here now. How do we get to here? Okay, we're here now. How do we get to here? And when you kind of get a growth mindset like that, man, life gets really fun, just like a never ending game.
And that's how you gotta treat. You gotta treat it as a game that you're excited about, and it's hard to develop that mindset because we're not necessarily born with that. It's like, we get in this mindset. I mean, the first word we learn is no. Last
It's
syllables,
true.
last word, so it's easy to say. It's like no or can't. Like, I can't do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Why do you think I can do this? Why do you think I can be this person? I can't do this. I mean, look at them. I mean, they're 20, I'm 40. I got 2 decades on me. Like, is it too late?
Mhm.
Whether it be same finances, growing in relationship with your wife or whomever, even with your kids who might be more like teenagers at that point.
Yeah,
So,
man. I think that's a big one too, and that's I kind of think the older I get, Zach, you can group people into only two categories in life.
okay.
And it kind of goes off what you're saying is, and I was in the previous one for until about 6, 7 years ago, where I would see guys where you just described. Financially, they're great. They're in great shape. Man, they got a great marriage. And I would look at them and say, man, they must just have good genes. They must have been born into wealth. Their wife just must be more understanding than mine. I would just kind of cope and make excuses. And then there's the second group of people. And this is what I shifted into. And God bless them, man. Zuby and Ryan Stevens and Zach Hommel and a lot of the guys I found on Twitter developed this in me that
Mhm.
said, okay, if Zach Hommel's got this kind of business and this kind of marriage and this kind of faith, I'm not going to be jealous of that. I'm going to admire that and
Exactly.
seek it and learn from it and take little bits what he's doing to better my life. And so, we get this stuff online all the time now, right? Like, oh, it must
Yeah.
be nice to be 40 and be in shape. You got good genes. No,
Right.
man, it's that I get up and go to the gym every day for the last 10 years, right? Like
Hey, maybe
it's
take off your shirt more and go for walks.
that's right, man. It's you get out of life what you put into. Now, are people born at different there's some people that are born on third base. They're born into a
Yeah.
wealthy family. Great. That's awesome. I'm not disputing that at all. But I am saying that we can all improve our circumstances, find mentors, find communities, find those people out there that are doing kind of the stuff we want to do and learn from them. It cost me a couple $1,000s to hire Zach Hommel, 4 years ago, my first coach, and it changed my whole life, man. What he poured back into me. I quit my job 10 months later. Successful business, my faith just 100x, my marriage and communication, everything I learned from him. I have
Mhm.
19 pages of notes in a notebook down there from our
Awesome.
calls. I still refer to those 3.5 years ago, man, some of that stuff. And so I think, in today's world, this is available to everybody. Number one, if you don't have a penny, follow guys like you on social media. Follow me, follow our community. We got 300 or 400 of us that every day,
Right.
all we do is encourage, put out positivity, put out tips and hacks and mindset. That's all we do, right?
That's
Is
right.
want to help people. So that's free. YouTube channel. I could watch 10 of your videos for free and improve things about my life. You can find this stuff for free. Sermons online for free. All this stuff. Now, if you want to go to a higher level and you have a little means or you want to create that in your life, buy in, join a men's community, join a men's
Right.
group. If you don't have that, start one. There's a million different ways that you can be successful today. And I don't buy the notion that, well, I can't do it because of this. You can, I truly believe he who says he can and he who says he can't are both going to be right. And so it's just up to you to make that one choice, right?
Exactly. And, one of the key things, like, this is why, and start reading books. Go
Mm,
to the library if you can't afford to buy stuff on
right.
Amazon. That way you can get people back into the library. I know it's been decades since I've been in a library.
Bro, we go every couple months. Our family takes a trip. My daughter will get like 7, 8 books. I'll get a book. My wife will get a book. And I mean, I'll be honest, we could buy the books now. We're in a financial spot where we
Yeah.
could, but I'm still pretty thrifty, man. Like, well, it's a free library. We pay taxes for it. Why not go
Well,
take
yeah, and
advantage
I
of
found
it?
out, like, you can get some book sales and actually buy the books. I didn't know that before.
Yeah.
So I'm dating now a person who loves the library. So it's like we're gonna start planning stuff to go back, and so the more knowledge and wisdom you get, the better you're gonna be able to transform your life. So get a library card,
That's right.
check out a book, start reading about personal development, finances. That's where I just was watching something Warren Buffett, and that's what he started with. He didn't have much money at 14, and what he did is he read every book there was on finance because he wanted it. He was interested in stocks. Guy's first stock at like 11, and now look at him.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
And
it's pretty crazy the age we live in that there's so much information. And I'll say this
yeah,
too, like a lot of people will read, oh, I read in our self-improvement space. Oh, I read 60 books this year. Oh, I read 100 books this year. I mean, that's awesome. That's
yeah,
great. But sometimes it becomes like a vanity metric. And I always say, get a notebook as you're reading. Dude, I'd rather read 3 books a year, but actually apply that knowledge to my life to better it. Like when I started my self improvement, it was Atomic Habits. I read it cover to cover 3 times. And
mhm,
dude, I have 20 pages of notes on that book. And I applied so much of that book to my life. Now, maybe that book doesn't resonate with you. You got a different one. That's fine. Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Same thing, man. I like applied so many.
ironically,
Oh, dude, that book
this
saved
wasn't even planned.
brother. I love that book. And here's the crazy thing, Zach. I didn't finish that book. It's probably
Okay,
my top 3 favorite book of all time. I got 75% of the way through it and said, okay, it's the same thing now. I get it. Ownership. I know what I need to do to implement and better my life.
right,
That was like 2 years ago. I never finished it, 2.5 years ago. But man, the lessons I took out of that book just literally changed my entire marriage. Hey man,
yeah,
oh, my wife doesn't get me. She doesn't understand how important it is for me to go have a guy's day. Why doesn't she get me? Because I don't explain it well enough. It's
right.
on me, you know? And once I flipped that switch, man, everything in my life got better. But yeah, it's such a gift that we can take these resources that these amazing people have put out there
Right.
and better our lives through it, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, especially where, like, 2 things. One, someone, I can't remember their name, but pointed out that, we get access to a couple hundred pages that took decades for people to learn.
Hmm.
That they had to figure it out and get their own mentors to help them along their journey. And then 2, I don't know the guy's name, but I was watching, like, a YouTube short, and this guy's like, "Every time you read a chapter, apply that."
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, that's a good idea." Like, I know Jim Rohn, I'm on a big kick with him right now. And he was talking about, like, don't trust your memory, write things down. So I literally am doing exactly what you're saying. And that's how you know it's right, when you talk to people and if they're doing it and their lives are improving and they have that evidence and proof that their life's improving.
It's just a few of my notebooks that I can just grab within reach, man. I have my family makes fun of me, bro, because I have 27 notebooks here forever. I have like my audit notebook. I have my long-term goal notebook. I have a notebook on my wife, Annie. Just how do I be a better husband, man? Okay,
Wow.
if she gave me this cue, I want to write that down. Like, why would I not? My fitness notebook, like everything. I feel like if I want to run a successful business, I'm going to track how much I spend, how much comes in, if I
Right.
want it to grow, right? Well, if I want a successful marriage, I'm going to be intentional about it and do the same thing, right? Like, okay, well, how many date nights a week are we doing? How can I get better at this? How can I listen a little better? How can I ask better questions, right? Like when you approach everything in that way, it's easy to get better.
Yeah, and that's why one of your huge mottos that you have, one of the many thousands, is date your wife. Continue to date her, continue to pursue her. Because there's nothing, and I talk to for my personal job, I talk to people all the time, and a lot of times they're not happy in their marriages because they don't date each other. They don't continue to get
Mm,
to know one another. They kind
yeah.
of are in that comfort zone where they just do the day by day thing. And so that's another thing I'll mention is, like, have date night. I know
Yeah,
you have a lot of kids, and if you can't afford it or have someone watching, then when the kids go to bed, spend that time with each other.
that's right.
Put away the phones, turn off the TV, and connect with one another.
That's right, man. Nobody was on that altar, man, thinking like, well, we're gonna get married, and in 5 years, he's just gonna be like watching the game, and I'm gonna be in the other room. Like, no,
Yeah,
man, you're thinking about connecting and living a great life and growing together. And
exactly.
too often, yeah, that can get ripped apart just because there's so your relationship kind of becomes transactional over
Mm,
time. Did you do this? Did you take the kids here? Did you get the trash? You get the groceries? You pay the bill? You start talking about these things, which I say you get stuck in facts,
yeah,
and so you need to raise that to feelings. How was your day? Tell me about it.
exactly.
And ask good questions. And then if you really want to have a great marriage, you go to dreams and say,
Yeah,
let's dream together. Where are we going to be in a year? How do we create that? What kind of life do we want? What do we want our giving to look like? What do we want our kids' lives to look like? What do we want? And you dream together, and you always are creating this like fun, like an adventure. I think that's the guy's job in a marriage is to, I say all the time, I'm going to take my wife on adventures, man. We're going on one here in 4 or 5 days, taking the whole family to Utah, big
nice.
Airbnb, nothing fancy, man. We're gonna be hiking through some caves and running up some sand dunes and stuff like this. But I think it needs to be exciting. And too many men get into a spot where they blame their wives for, well, she's not doing XYZ. Well, bro, what are you bringing to the table? What are you
Exactly.
at? When's the last time you took her on a date? Like guys will have complained to me all because I coach a lot of married men now around this, and they'll say, man, me and my wife are only intimate like once a month or every 2 months.
Mm,
And I'll say, when's the last time you took her on a date? 10 years ago. When's the last time you wrote her a love letter? When we were first married 12 years ago. When's the last time you like surprised her with just like a handwritten note? Like, son, can't remember. Bro, like remember when you were first together and you would change your shirt 6 times and make sure the reservation was locked in and go all these extra steps to impress her? I ask guys this question all the time, man. If you had to pick your wife up today again, could you do it? She chose you out of 3.5 billion guys on the planet. Would she do it again today? You better make sure. you know,
exactly.
you better make sure and keep dating her and keep winning her and keep pursuing her. And how do you do that? Well, you lead yourself and then you lead her, right? And I think too many men get that wrong. They think I'm the king of the castle. I work all day, make me the sandwich. And it's like, dude, you serve first. You lead.
Yeah, that's why, gotta follow Ty. I mean, he comes with the mindset, the marriage, the kids, and he lives it and does this every day. And obviously, we know and every day is gonna be a good day, but every day is, an opportunity you get to have to be the best version of yourself in that moment, in that time. So you guys gotta go follow Ty because heck, I'm not a dad yet. I'm not even married yet, but hell, I'm learning a lot from him. Where
Oh, you're
I'll
gonna be the greatest, most fun dad too. I can already tell, man. You're gonna be the dad at the park running all around too, man.
if I'm not, you gotta come after me.
Oh, I will, man. I'll call you out, I promise. But you will be.
No, yeah. Well, one advice I'm actually taking from you a lot is my girlfriend and I will spend like one day a week and we'll evaluate like where we are. Is this where we want to be? And if not, what are we going to do to get like we're both are working on losing weight. We're both working on getting better mindsets. And, we're both working on fostering our own relationships and our relationship with God. So
Awesome.
it's a whole thing. And I would not have been honestly in this position without honestly seeing all your tweets, all your posts, and how authentic and real you are, honestly. I mean, you're so genuine that it's like that's why people are just drawn to you. So as we kind of wrap today up, what is something you want to leave us with a man today who's not taking action, who's kind of in this kind of limbo stand that he wants to,
Yeah.
but
I
it's
think
just
it can feel really intimidating, and I think the enemy is really good at planting that fear in your mind and that
mhm,
doubt in your mind. He'll use shame a lot. You can't
yes,
get here because you did this. You can't look. I was an alcoholic. I abused drugs and pills, addicted to pornography. I made every mistake in the book. And thankfully, we serve a God who, as he died on the cross, told a thief on the cross next to him who had no good works, today you'll be with me in paradise because you believed. And so, step one, get on your knees, say a
mhm,
prayer. Hey, God, I don't have all the answers. But you know what? I always say God doesn't just choose the qualified. When you choose him, he'll qualify you. And I look at this in my own life and say, man, like, I'm nowhere near equipped to lead the way I have. And I say that really humbly, man, because Brother, the only place I led people for the first 31 years of my life was to the bar, to parties. Like that's who I would make. Oh, you're not drinking tonight, you pansy. I was that guy, right? Who just wasn't a good guy. Um, and as I've just taken that first step, my preacher, Eddie Lowen, who I give so much credit to, I remember him. I said, I've done too much bad stuff. I can't come back from it. And he said, Ty, you don't have to solve the whole puzzle today. You're going this way. Just pump the brakes and take one step back. And then wake up tomorrow and decide to take one step back. You don't have to solve the whole puzzle today. You need to make one committed decision, have a deep why. This is why I'm going to do it. Write that down. I wrote it down and put it on my bedside table. I would look at it every day. Why is it so critical that you change your life? I need to be the best version of myself to represent Jesus. My family needs me. I believe God created me for more than just to watch Netflix and pay bills and work a job I don't like. Whatever your why is, I want to live longer and be healthier so I can be around for my grandkids, right? Like whatever that is, write it down and then wake up every day. Say, hey, God, let's take a walk together. I'm going to get a little bit better today. Just a little bit better. You don't have to solve the whole puzzle.
Wow. That was ultimately extremely powerful, man. That was authentic, and that's why I love you, man.
I love you too.
And that's why you are the definition of a man of action. So this has been the Man of Action. Hope everyone has a blessed day, and stay tuned for the next pod.